Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca Pinello, and the story that I will be talking about today is titled Terrance Turtle's New Home. And so this story is very interesting. It features three best friends, a turtle and two geese. And so it's pretty interesting. It starts off by saying, like, surprisingly they're best friends even though they're all different, so already we see the theme of friendship. But then there's also a problem that they experience. They realize that the pond that they've lived at for their entire life, the pond that they grew up in, is no longer livable. The pond is drying up. And so that's the whole problem of the story. But one of the geese actually goes off to find a new home for them, and he actually comes back and says that he has found a new home indeed, but unfortunately Terrance won't be able to get there in time because so much time has already passed and the pond is already almost dried up, and so they have an issue and they don't know if they can stick together, and it seems very impossible. But they actually figure it out, and they realize that they are able to take Terrance by having him go on this little stick. And so they carry the stick in their mouths, and Terrance is holding on to the stick with his mouth, and so they're actually able to fly him all the way across the new pond. But the story ends with a surprising twist where Terrance actually lets go of the stick, but then he actually falls into the new pond. So it's a pretty interesting surprise, but it has a very good ending, and it's the friends are able to stick together and everything is great. And so I actually found this book online. I wasn't able to go to get an actual physical picture book due to certain circumstances, so I found it online. And so because of that, certain attributes of it, such as the binding and the casing and stuff like that, I wasn't able to see. But I did see certain things, such as the front cover. The front cover really demonstrates, paints a beautiful picture of both the beginning and the end. It's a picture of the three best friends, the one turtle and the two geese, and the pond. And so it could allude to both the beginning and the end of the story. So I think it was a great representation. And not only that, but each of the pages, the pictures aren't taking up 2 full pages, but instead there are only 1 page. And so and within that, the 1 page is only 3/4 filled with the picture, and so the 1/4 that isn't full of the picture is actually plain white and has a black text. And so it really works to bold the text and allows the readers to really see what they're reading, and so the readers aren't really straining their eyes, they can really see it, and the text aligns with the picture. So I think it's a really great way for the author to really portray the messages, because it was really easy to read, really easy to understand. So and it was fast enough to where it captured the reader's attention, but not too fast where the reader didn't really understand what was happening. And so I thought it was a great way to illustrate the whole message and everything like that. So as for the illustrations themselves, the artist chose a more cartoon / pop art with a mix of realism. So it's not very cutesy. It's not very cutesy like a lot of the books I've read. Instead, it is cartoonish. It's very 2D. It's not super realistic, but it has a hint of realism, as there are some details that help really picture what actual geese or actual turtles look like, or actual people look like. So I think it's a good mix of cartoon with realism, so that children actually know what they actually look like in real life. And so I thought it was a great idea. As for the characterization, there are 3 characters besides the background people that catch the turtle. There is Terrance, who's the turtle, and he's the main character, and he's more of a sacrificial, selfless kind of character. He wants to make sure that his friends are as comfortable as they can be. When the other goose comes back and realizes that Terrance can't go by himself, he says that the 2 geese should just leave. So he's a very selfless character. Sam is the other geese, and he is the one who actually takes initiative. He's very much so like he takes initiative, and he's the one that actually left to go find the pond. And so that's kind of his character. He just kind of gets done what he needs to get done. And then Sally is the other friend, and she's also a geese, and she is the one who's kind of like the comforter. She wants them to stay together. She wants to make sure that they make a way for everyone and not just the 2 geese. And so that's kind of who the characters are. And so overall, we can see from the story that there's a very strong theme of friendship. Although it is a a overcoming a struggle, overcoming a boundary kind of story. I think it overall is more pertains to the theme of friendship, because it's more about them sticking together and being able to get to the new pond than it is about them actually finding a pond, because Sam easily found a pond, and so it was really more of, well, can we all stick together? Are we able to stay friends even with this big struggle? And also too, in the beginning of the story, there is a comment where it says something like, yes, even though they're one's a geese and one's a turtle, they're able to be the best of friends and something like that. And so it really demonstrates that even though they look different, even though they're completely different animals, they're not in the same, they don't look similar at all. One is the color white, one is the color green. Like it really demonstrates how even though you look different from a person, even though you might not have the same characteristics, even though you're not the same person, you don't have similar qualities. For example, one takes initiative, one's more of the comforter, stays behind, and one's very selfless. Despite all that, you can still be friends. And so I think it paints a beautiful image of friendship and just really demonstrates how different people can very much so be different friends. And so I think it really teaches children the importance of looking past all the differences and realizing that even though there are differences, you can very much so be friends, and you can create this strong bond that can get you through any circumstances, even having to relocate and get to a completely different new place. So I think it's a great story for children to read. Overall, the setting is in a pond. The setting changes throughout. For example, when it's more bleak and desolate, the pond is drying up and there's not as much color, not as much green. It's very brown, very, very dry. But then when they realize that they have found the new pond, it's very blue, very hopeful. And so the colors really align with the feelings of the story. And the point of view is omniscient third person. It is more focused on Terrance, but it is in third person, so there isn't this really inside view of his feelings, but there's more of this outside look, which I think really really aligns with the story of the book, because it's more of like, oh, look at, the whole picture, look at how everyone is, how everyone comes together to make this beautiful image, and how friendship is, it's not just within one person, like it's not just one person keeping the pack together, it's everyone has to make an effort, and everyone has to be able to help one another. It can't just be a one-sided thing. And so I think that it's great that it's omniscient third person. It really aligns with the whole story. And lastly, the style and tone. It's an illustrative style. There are huge images that really help portray the message of the story, and not only that, but the tone kind of changes throughout. So at first it's a little bit solemn, it's a little bit bleak. Yes, they start off with saying like they're the best of friends, but then it gets really bleak pretty quickly because they realize that they can't live in their ponds anymore. But then it becomes more enthusiastic and more exciting when they realize that they found a new pond. Then it gets a little bleak because they realize Terrance can't go, but then becomes more enthusiastic and happy once they realize that he actually can go and they've made a way. And then goes back down to bleak and scary when he actually lets go of the stick. But then it's more enthusiastic at the very end. It leaves off enthusiastic when they realize that he actually fell into the new pond, into their new home. And so overall, I think this is a great story. It really demonstrates the theme of friendship. It really demonstrates how it's possible to be friends with people who are different than you, and it's possible to keep that friendship even if that means having to move around or having to overcome struggles. And so actually it demonstrates that those struggles can actually create a stronger bond. And so overall, I think it was a great story, and I think that it would be really great for children to read. And thank you guys for watching.